The origin of Ebenezer Scrooge and the modern image of Santa Claus. As a little child, Charles Dickens worked in a shoe factory. He was 10 years old. His father was in a debtor's prison, so Charles could only visit him on Sundays. And when Dickens grew up, it was a time of financial hardship, and Charles was horrified to read the work of an economist named Thomas Malthus, who used Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection as an allegory against assisting those struggling financially. When hearing there are some who would rather die than be sentenced to the workhouses, Scrooge channels Malthus replying, quote, "Well, they'd better do it and decrease the surplus population." Dickens, at first, he considered writing a pamphlet called An Appeal to the People of England on behalf of the poor man's child. But instead, he wrote A Christmas Carol in the spring of 1843 with the intention that it be a sledgehammer. He wrote it about a miserly, grumpy old tycoon who turns his life around after seeing the way the past connects to the present and the future. The year prior, Dickens had also taken a trip to America, and he was so repulsed by the sight of slavery, he cut short his visit to the American South, rather than continuing on to Charleston, South Carolina, as he'd previously planned. He wrote, quote, "When we reach Baltimore, we're in the regions of slavery. It exists there in its least shocking and most mitigated form, but there it is. They whisper here. They dare only whisper, and that below their breaths, that on that place and all through the South, there's a dull, gloomy cloud on which the very word seems written. I shall be able to say one of these days that I accepted no public mark of respect in any place where slavery was." End quote. In the North, Dickens described visiting a Pennsylvania prison. He said it was cruel and wrong. I'm persuaded that those who devised this system of prison discipline do not know what it is that they are doing. In A Christmas Carol, Dickens writes the character of Jacob Marley, his former business partner, now deceased, haunting Scrooge as a ghost, weighed down by, quote, cash boxes, keys, padlocks, ledgers, deeds, and heavy purses wrought in steel. But in the end, Scrooge does turn his life around before it's too late, and he gives Bob Cratchit a raise and the family a Christmas turkey. Not a goose, a whole turkey. The Victorians called A Christmas Carol a new gospel, probably the most famous work on the celebration of Christmas ever written. Ebenezer Scrooge was a fictional character in the same sense as Father Christmas or Santa Claus, of which one of the first modern images was created in the middle of the Civil War, 20 years after the writing of A Christmas Carol, by the Bavarian immigrant and genius cartoonist Thomas Nast. He's the one who first immortalized the mythic figure of Santa, wearing the stars and stripes of the Union Army. Ulysses S. Grant, the Union general and then President of the United States, subsequently made Christmas the first ever federal holiday to bring the nation back together. Grant said of the cartoonist's famous images throughout the period that he, quote, did as much as any one man to preserve the Union and bring the war to an end, end quote. The characters of Scrooge and Santa are allegories for two kinds of spirits from which humankind can choose. As we begin to plan our New Year's resolutions, may we choose the path in favor of human values over any others. And in the words of Tiny Tim, a Merry Christmas to all, and God bless us, everyone.